I always do that. I'm a night rider. Every time that I go up past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear I gotta get higher now. I'm a night rider. Every time that I give what I gotta supply. What is going on, bookworms, and welcome back to another very special episode of Bookmarks with Bump. Bookmarks with Bump is a social commentary podcast of sorts where basically I compiled a list of the greatest threads of all time on Twitter, and I bookmarked them. Why did I bookmark them? Because usually the only time I'm scrolling on any social media app at all is when I'm in the bathroom at work, and I probably shouldn't be there too long. So I bookmarked these threads to read them for later, and my life goes on, and there's never really time to sit and scroll on my phone, which is a great thing. So I had the bright idea, why not, with my expertise, me, the host, being Bump, an 8-year California sober, former alcoholic and drug addict, endurance runner, tradesman in the state of Connecticut, why don't I use my expertise from my life experience to expound upon these threads, which are usually detailed around sports, health, fitness, mindset, growth, goals, goal achievements, and all of these different sorts of things to help you level up in your life and make Bookmarks with Bump, the podcast, where I sit down weekly and go over these threads. I had a bright idea. Before I get into my bright idea, I'd like to give a very special set of shout-outs. 2 shout-outs this week. Today is August 13th, unlucky number 13. As I record, this is August 8th. No, this comes out on... Wait, when does this even come out? I don't know, 10th, the 11th. We're 2 weekends into August, man. Summer's flying by. The summer's over, and we're watching the sun finally set. Oh, yeah. Let me get into this. 2 sets of friends are enjoying their wedding celebrations this weekend. I'd like to give a shout out to Angelo and Shannon. Angelo is a trusty coworker, but not only that, I've known him since he was a kid, and to watch him grow up and build his life and find his career in trade and calling has been a privilege to watch. And my other friends, Nick and Karina are a set of teachers who have a love for music, and Nick has a love for sports that I share with him. He was my first co-host ever on a podcast, Funny Guys Money Lines podcast. If any of you were listeners of that, I hosted with Hunter and Nick and Karina are celebrating their marriage. They are down in Puerto Rico with a beautiful celebration with friends and family, and Angelo is here at home, and I just would love to give a special shout out to them for consummating and for consummating their love and taking each other's hands in marriage, which is such a beautiful union of love. Moving on from that, the preseason of the NFL is kicked off, and Shedeur Sanders will take the field tonight. Tonight is Friday as I record this, and he's going to start for the Browns in the preseason, and I'm hoping he does well. We talked early on when the draft happened. There was a conspiracy that came out. The conspiracy centered around Travis Hunter getting taken by the Jags in that trade involving the Browns, and how the Browns did that for the Jags to allow the rest of the owners to have this conspiracy to let Shedeur Sanders slip so far in the draft, where his first contract would be minuscule compared to what a first round or second round player would make, especially at the position of quarterback. It's interesting to me that this was a conspiracy because the Browns ruined the quarterback market with their 236 highest of all time completely guaranteed contract to Deshaun Watson, who was in the process of fighting 23 allegations. A very interesting move by the Browns to guarantee that much money, especially when guaranteed contracts aren't as popular in the NFL as they are in other sports. Typically, they're not guaranteed. A lot of contracts are incentive-based. If you perform this well, we'll pay you this much. Nonetheless, I don't see any of the owners really supplying a favor to the Cleveland Browns after doing that to the rest of the market and kind of forcing every team to pay their quarterbacks an exorbitant amount of money. But sometimes you got to love what the internet has to say. Allegedly, out of camp, he's been performing really well. He had the most completions out of all of the four, now 5 Browns quarterbacks, as they just signed Tyler Huntley, Snoop Huntley, famous backup for Lamar Jackson, and played down in Miami as well when Tua was getting hurt. But a lot of things are happening in the NFL. There are fights happening. Tom Brady just got a statue. Chris Jones was mouthing off at George Karlaftis because he wanted to take some time off on the Chiefs practice, and Chris Jones was not having it. Chris Jones famously sat out a game. We still have players sitting out of practice. Trey Hendrickson came back to practice. Terry McLaurin demanded a trade. There's so much going on around the NFL. I don't have anything topical, and I've noticed that as I'm coming through these threads. I have so much backed up, so much in store. So I'm going to take it back to the beginning. Today was chest day, but at the end of every day's workout, I do 10 pull-ups just because it's the greatest exercise. I do 10 pull-ups, and I think, wow, that one was a little bit more straining, and I put the math together, how many pull-ups I do a week, because I do 10 at the end of every workout, no matter what it is. So that's 50 automatically. But then I also have 4 sets of 12 on back and bicep day. So that's 46. So basically I'm doing 96 pull-ups a week. And I thought about the time where I couldn't do 1 pull-up. And that was only a couple years ago. I couldn't do pull-ups at all. And I was doing chin-ups for a really long time. And that's the reason why I have nice biceps, or at least that's what I always tell everybody, because chin-ups focus mainly on pulling, and that pulling gets your biceps involved, especially during a chin-up. Nonetheless, I wanted to start it from the. I'm starting this all from the bottom with my biceps in the air. It's basically what I said, because the first thread that I ever bookmarked was 5 exercises for bigger biceps. And as always, the threads are linked in the description. I encourage you to follow along. Bookmarks with Bump is a pro sing-along/read-along podcast. We hope everybody gets involved, especially for threads like this where videos are included. And what this man is, what's the word I'm looking for? What this man is demonstrating in this video is a forearm curl. Not a forearm curl that you do with your fingers, but it's an inverted or a supinated, or pronated rather. Usually when you do curls, your palms are in a supinated position, meaning the palm is facing up. That is supination. What he's doing now is holding the dumbbells in a pronated position with his hands, where they are turned over, palms facing the floor, holding the dumbbells, doing curls like this while he's kneeling. Now, the focus of kneeling is the less contact you have with the ground, the more you're calling upon the muscle you're trying to engage throughout an exercise. For example, try to do bench with your feet on the bench, and try to notice the difference between when your feet are firmly planted on the floor. So he's kneeling down. You could do this sitting down. You could do this on an incline bench. Pronated curls are a great exercise. The second exercise are the hammer curls. The reason why the hammer curls should always be included, and this is why I do them, is because these also call on the forearm. The head of your forearm that is basically on the top of your arm. From the outside of your elbow going into the middle of your arm, that is the muscle that you will be calling upon, as well as your biceps, with the hammer curl. Exercise 3, kneeling hammer curls side to side. Exercise 4, you have an outward facing bicep curl. And exercise 5 is a close grip bicep curl. All of these different modalities, I guess you could call them, every time you change the angle of an exercise, you change the muscle that you're hitting, you change the muscle that has superior engagement. When you're doing any type of exercise, you should kind of tweak and move a little bit, not throughout the exercise, not throughout the repetition, but throughout your different exercises. If you always do your hammer curls tight, up straight to your shoulder, try to do them across your body. See what feels different. Pay attention to your body and listen to what it says. It's always giving you a message. We'll move on. I do have one topical thing this week. A little bit. It's a little bit topical, but it's a story about a guy. Because the last few weeks I've highlighted a few guys, and this week I'm going to highlight a guy who's causing a ton of controversy. This is a WWE thread, okay? We're going to get into a little bit of the freaks and geeks here, okay? My little guilty pleasure for the last 2 years has been professional wrestling. I was a huge fan growing up until I grew up. And now in my adult years, instead of a soap opera, I'm watching a moving soap opera of sorts when I watch this WWE. Shout out to Netflix for just bringing back all of the Monday Night Raws from the late 90s, early 2000s, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Mankind, Generation X, the original Generation X with the Road Dogg and with X-Pac and Badass Billy Gunn and China's Amazonian glamorous. Anyway, Brock Lesnar showed up at SummerSlam this weekend and just pulverized John Cena after John Cena lost his title, causing another turn from heel back to face. But Brock Lesnar is the person that I pick out of a lineup when I say, who's going to fight the alien race? We need to clone 1 million Brock Lesnars and put them on the front lines. I mean, this guy's head is just massive. He's massive. But Ocelot MMA put out a thread about Brock Lesnar that starts like this. Brock Lesnar, NCAA champ to WWE champ to UFC champ. A thread. Lesnar competed in college wrestling for the University of Minnesota. In 2000, he wins the NCAA Division I title at heavyweight. He's a physical specimen from the start. Picture a silverback gorilla. I mean, this guy's traps are the size of my forearms. I mean, he's just, he's built different. I don't know what else to say. As always, the threads are linked in the description. Click the link and read along. We got highlights from the NCAA tournament here, where he's just ragdolling dudes. Like, he's just jacked. He's a heavyweight with a lightweight's body, but on a heavyweight. He's Lesnar signed with the WWE in 2002. Paul Heyman was serving as his manager and mouthpiece. He didn't really have a lot of great mic skills early on in his career, but the next big thing had arrived. Lesnar received a mega push, defeating The Rock at SummerSlam in 2002 and winning the WWE Championship, the youngest person to do so at the time. Brock would become a major star in the WWE. A thread could be made of this run alone. Point that sticks out is his attempted shooting star press versus Kurt Angle. He botches the move and improvises the finish, concussed. He missed the shooting star press, and he landed on his head. Kurt Angle was just way too far out. I believe this is WrestleMania 20, but he was way too far out. He landed right on his head. It's WrestleMania 19. Forget what I said before. The thread goes on to say in 2004, Brock left the WWE due to burnout and various issues. The schedule of traveling is crazy in the WWE, and these guys perform 5 to 6 nights a week. Lesnar joined the Minnesota Vikings in the NFL. However, this was unsuccessful, and he was cut during the preseason. He did suffer a bike accident before this, but likely a bridge too far. 2005, he went back to pro wrestling, this time in Japan. He won the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. This decision caused issues with WWE, who did not want Lesnar wrestling for a rival, but he stopped in 2007 and did not go back until 2012. In 2007, he made his debut at Dynamite USA. He was supposed to face Hongman Choi, but Choi was replaced by Kim Moon-soo. Lesnar makes Kim submit to strikes in 1 minute and 9 seconds. So basically, I want you to think about this. He went from real wrestling, Greco-Roman Olympic-style wrestling, to professional wrestling, which is choreographed. The bumps are real, the bruises are real. All of that is obviously real, but there's padding involved, and the wrestlers talk to each other and rehearse what they're going to do in the ring. It's a show, but they are also taking a beating. He then goes from professional wrestling to the NFL, which is, bruising. He played defensive line, so every single snap was like a car accident, just going from a standstill, running full speed into a person who is 1 foot in front of you. Picture that, and doing that 45 times within 3 hours, and then doing it throughout the week to get ready to do it again for 3 hours, 45 times. It is nuts what football players do. That's why we love it. Then he went from the NFL back to pro wrestling, flipped around a little bit, and he went from there to MMA. And in his very first fight, he made a man tap out, quit, give up, while he was beating him senseless. In 2008, UFC 81, Brock takes a considerable step up by facing former champ Frank Mir in his second pro fight. So after that fight, the UFC signed him because, obviously the guy is the guy who's going to kill the aliens. And they put him up against Frank Mir, who at the time in 2008 was on a downward slope in his career, coming down from where he was, but he was the man. Like, when you played the first UFC video game, you wanted to be Frank Mir. He was a great wrestler, and he threw one hell of a punch. Anyway, in his second fight, he fought Frank Mir. He did very well, but he ended up getting caught in a knee bar and having to tap out after 90 seconds of madness. Later on in August at UFC 87, he rebounds by dominating Heath Herring, who was a daunting man, and Brock kind of just makes him look small. He sniped him with a jab, got on top of him, and just pummeled him. November, a few months later, at UFC 91, he gets a shot at the heavyweight title when he faced Randy Couture. Brock TKOs Randy in the second round to become champ. Randy was 45 years old at the time, so think about that. Crazy. 2008 UFC to now, the champion was 45 years old. I don't think anybody could be 45 and fighting, but in July 11th, 2009, at UFC 100, Brock rematched Frank Mir as the headliner of the UFC's flagship event. Brock shows more patient top control to better Frank Mir into a second round stoppage, not getting caught in a submission this time. In July of 2010 at UFC 116, he made his second title defense against Shane Carwin, who had hands the size of heads. Brock comes close to being stopped, barely surviving Carwin's barrage in round one, and then he takes him down and submits a gassed Carwin in the second. So not only is he a bruiser, he's somebody who could put somebody in a hold and make him tap. Due to his wrestling background, the guy is just versatile. Put him in a tank. October 23rd, 2010. At UFC 121, Brock loses the title to Cain Velasquez, one of the best heavyweight fighters of all time. Cain absolutely tore through Lesnar in round one. Brock coached The Ultimate Fighter Season 13 with Junior Dos Santos. The fight never happened due to an injury, but Brock had some memorable moments on the show for sure. Took a shine to future star Tony Ferguson. He has an eye for talent. December 30th, 2011, at UFC 141, Brock is TKO'd by Alistair Overeem. They call him Ubereem at this time because he was definitely gassed up on a whole bunch of gear. Body kicks seem to be especially brutal, knowing Brock struggles with diverticulitis that ended his career prematurely. But in 2012, Brock made a return to the WWE to reign on John Cena's parade. At April 6, 2014, this is a moment, man. WrestleMania 30. Brock Lesnar ends The Undertaker's streak at 21-1. It was a huge moment, and I remember this actually. I was watching this with my older brother, and it was just wild. Like, we thought it wasn't real. We thought we thought it was a mistake. We thought it wasn't supposed to happen. The way Paul Heyman reacted after Brock Lesnar tapped him out, and just the reaction of the crowd, it sucked the air out of the stadium. It's crazy to think about. But then Brock adopted the Suplex City gimmick, where here he is throwing John Cena around the ring. It's just a series of German suplexes where, typically people would string 3 suplexes together. Brock would go on and on and on for as long as he wanted to. He had such a big gas tank for somebody with so much lean mass on their body. Brock makes his return to the Octagon. He was the headliner for UFC 100, and the UFC wanted to go all out for UFC 200. He was set to face Mark Hunt, a formidable striker, but someone Brock could out-wrestle. And at UFC 200, Brock defeated Mark Hunt via a unanimous decision. Scores takedowns in rounds 1 and 3 for the win, earning a 10-8 round in round 3. The victory would not last long because Lesnar was fined $250,000 and suspended for competition for 1 year by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Why? Because he was juiced up, obviously. I mean, look at the guy. If you're following along with this thread and you see this picture, the muscularity on a 265-pound man is just out of this world. The win versus Hunt was overturned, and a legal battle between Hunt and the UFC is ongoing at the time of this thread in 2023. Brock teases a return to MMA. First against John Jones in 2017, before Jones failed the test. In 2018, he shoved DC, Daniel Cormier, at the UFC 226 post-fight and cut a promo. It amounted to nothing, and he remained retired. Brock would return to the WWE, though. He had a year-long reign as the Universal Championship, and he remained a marquee name, because why wouldn't you put him in the spotlight? He's at another retirement and returned to the WWE. He adopted the Cowboy Brock gimmick, and he lifted up the ring with a tractor at the Last Man Standing match against Roman Reigns. He's kind of just this Canadian cowboy. And he came back and showed that on Sunday night. Just after John Cena's match at the end of the show, just when you thought everything was over, his music hits, the crowd goes wild, the internet's upset. Who really cares what they think anyway? That's why I don't surf it. But we'll move on to something else I do. And that's just... It's just really honestly work my ass off and enjoy the fruits of my labor. I really do hate to toot my own horn. I really do try to stay humble. But I got nice abs, man. And I can help you get them. As always, you could email me at bookmarkswbump@gmail.com if you ever have any help, or if you ever need any help with a personal trainer. I am a certified personal trainer by the National Academy of Sports Medicine. But we have another thread here by Goal Loaded that I do encourage you to read along or follow along, because there are demonstrations included in this. Do this each morning for a week. Do it every week after that too, to get abs and improve your stamina. 100% quick results. Number 1 is a set of mountain climbers. Mountain climbers are great. They're a great way to kind of burn some extra calories with cardio as well. Do these, for as long as you can, really 30 seconds, 60 seconds, something around that time frame, really, to kind of just get the heart rate going, and do it for a couple of sets. Number 2 are leaping mountain climbers, where you're picking both of your feet up off the ground and kind of jumping, driving those knees up into the core. You do an alternating set. You do a burpee-like set. And you do a set where you jump up and squat. And it's kind of just a set of high-interval training exercises. The point of this is really to engage the core and also do cardio. You could get abs doing that as well. The main thing to get abs, which we all have abs, is to just lose fat, burn calories, and eat your protein. And as long as you do these things, you can kind of focus a lot less on the wants in life if you have the things you need. The health. Okay, health is the most important. Health is wealth, some people may say. What I will say is that no matter what, I have a trade, I have skills, and I have ability to move my body, and I have fitness-oriented goals. So no matter what life tries to take from me, I'm always going to have something that remains constant. And that's why I'm recession-proof. SVB Bank caused a recession. And there's a thread out here that I bookmarked a long time ago about how one decision has started the 2023 recession. And it was SVB Bank. And in March of 2022, a press conference happened, and the CEO of a private U.S. bank proudly shares that they have raised around $21 billion. Minutes later, the stock fell more than 65%, and here's the background story. Silicon Valley Bank used to be the most popular bank for startups. Their business model was to provide cheap loans to startups, hope they'll raise money again to pay back, get startups to deposit their funds in the bank, make interest money on the deposits. Number 2. During 2020 and 21, interest rates dropped to zero. It was very hard to get interest on your deposits. Hence, SVB Bank made a wise decision based on the situation. They invested in long-term bonds at an interest of 1.5% for a long term, typically 5 to 10 years. Now, they cannot withdraw this amount as it's been locked for 5 to 10 years, and with the hope that interest rates will not increase in the future. This turned out to be the first mistake. But with money so easily available in the market, in 21 and 22, the inflation rate started shooting up. In 2022, the U.S. Federal Bank started increasing the interest rates. This is where SVB screwed up. They thought that the interest rates would not increase, but things changed and fast. Now, U.S. government bonds had 2.5 times more return than SVB bonds, and no one wanted their bonds. On the other hand, remember FTX? The second largest crypto exchange crash? The bank that funded FTX, Silvergate Bank, also crashed because FTX was its biggest client. And on March 8th, Silvergate closed. Here, SVB was trying to fix the situation in point 3. The CEO of SVB did 2 things to get more cash. He sold their equity to raise cash, and he sold $21 billion in assets. He announced this in a press conference, thinking this would fix all the issues at hand. But the customers who happened to be startups were really restless after seeing FTX collapse, lack and tech layoffs, recession fear, and the Silvergate Bank shutdown. They thought, why would a bank that we go to keep our money safe need a safety net? And this led to chaos. Customers started pulling out their money, but SVB doesn't have money because remember, they bought long-term bonds in 2020 and 2021, which are locked in. And this led to chaos. The stock crashed, the bank went down, and now it has been closed, as per the latest government agencies. What does it mean? Even more layoffs because of the crash crunch. The VC's money, plus a majority of Indian startups registered in the USA don't have access to their own money now. There will be a high impact on the payment of salaries for a lot of startups. A lot of startups can die because of the fund shortages. The Indian startups that have a lot of US clients like ChargeBee or Zoho will take a massive hit. Do you feel like we're in a recession now? And this is in 2023, and I think about all the videos going around about grocery prices and how much they've leaped, and that's definitely a sign of a recession. What's interesting to me is the decisions that people can make with your money. These banks can take your money, and this is pretty much how a bank makes money. It's interesting because a bank is supposed to be something that saves your money, but they do money tricks with your money that you can't do. Like take millions and millions of dollars, put them in accounts and CDs that have interest rate returns so they can make money off of your money. And that's what we're doing by keeping our money in the banks. That is alarming. This SVB Bank, they had billions of dollars that wasn't theirs, that they couldn't give back to the people that rightfully owned it, I guess. I mean, people don't own money, but maybe they do. I'm not sure the terminology on that. But that's the kind of thing that we, as the common people, are up against. And this is something that's completely allowed. For me, the government and the control, the Federal Reserve, It's all just a tricky, sticky thing, and it's not something that I know everything about. So it's hard for me to talk about. But what I do know about it is that it confuses me. It upsets me a little bit. It it pisses me off. It pisses me off. The Federal Reserve isn't owned by the government. It's not an entity of the government. And that's where we get our money from. What is our money? Is it real money? Is it tangible money? How many jobs require a direct deposit option? So how many times is your money just zeros and ones in a system somewhere? It does make you kind of worry. It does give you a little bit of panic. But like I said, if you always have skills and ability, you don't have to worry about the recession. You do have to worry about the government. And even if you try to do what we're entitled to do as citizens underneath the Constitution, you still have to worry about the government. Remember that January 6th thing? I got a thread here I bookmarked a long time ago that we're going to go through. And this is exposing the January 6th narrative. And this is interesting looking at a thread from 2023 and 2025 in kind of how things have moved in a crazy direction since then. Nancy Pelosi's son-in-law, Michael Voss, took a picture with Jacob Chansley. Jacob Chansley, if you don't know, is the QAnon shaman. And if you don't know the QAnon shaman, there is a big rabbit hole for you to dive down. Hop on to Channel 5 News on YouTube and watch their QAnon shaman video. That'll show you everything. I mean, QAnon is very interesting in itself. It reminds me of a 4chan. It's just an internet forum board where people go on there and talk about how Donald Trump is the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. And I wonder if they still feel like that today. This was right before Chansley was escorted by Capitol Police through the building. See my video in the next tweet on Chansley from 2 years ago. As always, links are included in the description. Hit the thread, follow along. Very important to watch this video. I believe that Chansley was in on this, and then they railroaded him. Remember, Chansley, aka Jake Angeli, was a self-proclaimed actor. They needed a physical representation and symbol to further push their fake insurrection narrative. Never thought of it like that. The QAnon shaman, very performative. And to make your mascot a clown is a great way to discredit whatever they have to say. On January 6, 2023, the official White House Twitter account again repeated the lie that Officer Brian Sicknick lost his life defending the Capitol. Sicknick died of natural causes, according to the medical examiner, and all of the mainstream media even admitted this. Why did Nancy Pelosi really have a film crew in her office at the Capitol on January 6th? Pelosi said, "I've been waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds." She thought she was in the Palace of England. The Palace of Buckingham, sorry. I'm not English. I speak it. Oh, I'm sure that she was just waiting for this. A rare moment of honesty, incriminating honesty, that is. Ray Epps is still walking free. The mainstream media still constantly runs cover/fluff pieces for him. In fact, they only do this for Epps and nobody else that was involved that day. Here's Ray Epps gleefully admiring the events he orchestrated on January 6th. He looks like a kid during Christmas. There's more on Ray Epps here. Epps is on many different videos trying to orchestrate events on January 6th. He was literally telling people we need to go in the Capitol the night of January 5th. Then Epps actually texted his nephew. I orchestrated it on January 6th. Did Wolf Blitzer get confused about the narrative? They're just walking straight through. Where are the Capitol Police? It's an awful situation. And then Jake Tapper gets rushed in. Remember when foundations were trying to bribe influencers to lie about January 6th? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Good information is the lifeblood of democracy. On January 6th, a masked man wearing an earpiece and walkie-talkie was caught on video removing a glass window from the Capitol. When he realized he was being recorded, he pushed another man and blamed him. He has not been added to the FBI's most wanted list, arrested, or charged. Ray Epps, I believe, was a federal agent, but People think it was just another deep state psyop to cover up the stolen and rigged election of Joe Biden, which was, what they were talking about at the time because of the mail-in ballots and the pandemic going on. They tried to make it impossible for people to get to election booths, and they did a good job. More people than ever voted at a time where a complete crisis was going on. And this forced a bunch of, you gotta call them what they are, really, lunatics, to just storm into the Capitol with no real plan of revolt or takeover or tyranny, no kind of formulation, because that's what they do. Militias are outlawed now in this day and age, and people would do that to kind of keep the governing bodies accountable, but there is no accountability. And accountability is such a huge thing to me, and it's not just the fact that we need it in the government. I mean, just in life. Accountability is 100% how you get anywhere that you want to be in life. You have to hold yourself. I'm not going to overuse the word accountable, but you have to hold yourself accountable. If you're training for something, are you pushing yourself the way you could? If you're trying to achieve a goal in your career, are you working as hard as you should? If you're making mistakes, do you know how you're making those mistakes, and do you know how to correct them? Accountability is such an important tool for progress. And it seems like the people who want to hold us accountable don't hold themselves accountable. Me, just being who I am as a person, I want transparency in life. I just want the story as it is. If it's good or bad, you can tell me, and I can take it. But the truth matters, because the truth is how we learn. What are you trying to learn? Make sure there's accountability there. I want America to be a great country. I want every country to be a great country. I want the world to be a great world. So we need to spread the awareness of accountability. Accountability is huge in my life, not just with my fitness goals, but where I got to basically be in my career, where I am in my life. I just held myself a little bit more accountable on my finances, my career, the way I paid attention at work, the way that I train, and it all pays off. Trust me. It all pays off. It's scary. It's scary to admit you make a mistake, but it's worth it in the end. Believe me. And if you need help with accountability or personal training, you could always hit me up on my email at bookmarkswbump@gmail.com. Send in any threads you'd like to suggest as well. I'm open to suggestions here. We're going to rip through these threads as the weeks go on, and we're going to get all caught up, and we're going to be talking about a lot more topical things, but it was nice to take a blast in the past when banks were collapsing and windows were getting pushed in. Today, things seem a lot more hectic and a lot more peaceful all at once. Remember, stay vigilant and keep your head on a swivel. Have trust in yourself and have faith in God. And as always, it's all love. God bless. I've been riding a wave like I surf. I've been leaning in and out of work. I could show you what it's worth. Money to the ceiling. I started at the dirt. I've been riding a wave like I surf. I've been leaning in and out of work. I could show you what it's worth. Money to the ceiling. I started at the dirt. I'm a night rider. Every time that I go out past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear I gotta get higher now. I'm a night rider. Every time that I give what I got, I supply that fire. I supply that fire, man. I'm a night rider. Every time that I go out past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear I gotta get higher now. I'm a night rider. Every time that I go out past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear I gotta get higher, man.